Folks in from the waiting room. Michael, we are live. Once the folks are let in, you may begin whenever you're ready.
Great. Thank you. All right. Welcome everybody to tonight's June 18th, 2024 full design review board meeting. I call us to order and we have a quorum of 6 out of our 9 members. I'm looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So move.
There's a motion. Do I hear a second?
Seconded.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, motion passes 6-0. I think we have some meeting minutes we need to approve, Cam, is that right?
That is correct. You have May 21st, May 28th, June 4th, and June 11th.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve May 21st, May 28th, June 4th, and June 11th meeting minutes?
So move.
There's a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
There's a second. All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Motion passes 6-0. All right. I'm looking for now any general member comments that are not related to any of the applications we have tonight. These would just be any member who wants to speak on something else. Please raise your hand virtually or physically and staff will try to grab you. All right, I don't see anybody, so we will jump right into the agenda. So we have application F, which is 1499 Autumn Ridge Circle. This is an appeal. So is the appellant here? I think the appellant is the applicant as well. Is the appellant here?
I am not seeing the name, but if the homeowner for 1499 Autumn Ridge Circle is on, if you could raise your hand. I think it's Zara. Zara, if you're on, if you could raise your hand so we can unmute you. I'm not seeing any hands for the appellant, Michael, but I did receive an email this morning from the appellant that they did some modification to the front yard. But it could not be provided to the DRB since the time frame doesn't meet the resolution requirements. So I'm not seeing the homeowner on this evening.
So with an appeal, should we, if they're out there making changes still, can you defer an appeal or is that?
Yes, you most certainly can defer an appeal. The affected parties on the application aren't here if there was an acceptance of the appeal, but yes, you most certainly could defer it. You could defer it to the end of the agenda if you'd like to.
Well, that's what I'm thinking of doing because I think, I think we can make a decision on the appeal personally. But let's, just in case they do want to, come, I just hate making the affected party wait. But luckily our agenda is not too long tonight. So unless you guys want to discuss it now, I mean, I think I was on the original panel who made this decision, so I don't know who else was on. Is me, John, and Brian probably then? Is that right, staff?
Sorry. Yes, it's Brian, you, and John. Correct.
Yeah. So personally, I don't see that any new information's been provided or that any cluster guideline or any misapplied guideline from what we had at the time. So, the big reason why we denied it was that there was round timbers in the front yard. And those were the big anti against our guidelines, and the plant material is not consistent with the surrounding areas. These pictures are very misleading of what it actually looks like. The appellant statement is sent in some updated pictures, which really shows what it looks like. And that's, so anyways, I don't think there's any new information or a misapplied guideline. I think we just, I can't make a motion on it because we originally heard it, but I do not see anything new.
The appellant does not need to be present in order for the DRB to review the appeal. So if someone who was not on the appeal would like to either make a motion to defer or an alternative motion, you're free to do so.
Okay.
Michael, you're muted.
I realized that. I don't know how long I was talking without you guys hearing me, but
We heard most of it. You're good.
all right, good. Sarah, if you want to ask a question, go for it. You guys can have discussion about it. We will only hear from the cluster if the appeal is accepted. So I know Kenneth is here from the cluster, and we will only hear from you if the appeal is accepted, just as a FYI. So Sarah, go ahead.
I was to say I can make a motion to put this at the end of the agenda.
Okay, you want to defer it to the end of the agenda?
Yes, make a motion to defer to the end of the agenda.
Okay. So there's a motion.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just didn't want to have to make them wait around, but I think we'll get to a resolution either way. So, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. It'll go to the end of the agenda. All right, up next is Purple Sage Cluster. This is also an appeal. Are Jim and Bob here?
I believe so. Let me find them. Yep, they are here. Jim, I'm asking you to unmute.
Okay, thank you.
Hey,
Yeah,
Jim.
we're here.
Hi, Jim and Bob. So you guys know the deal. For an appeal, we need a misapplied guideline or new information.
Okay, understood.
Thank you.
Understood. Sure. So I'll try to be as brief as I can, but how much time do I have?
You're the appellant. You have the floor.
Oh, cool.
Don't make me
Right.
stop you though, Jim.
Okay, I will be succinct. I'll be as succinct as I possibly can.
Perfect.
Okay, without too much editing, this lighting project has turned into somewhat of a fiasco.
Just keep reading it. Just read the whole thing.
Okay,
Read the whole thing.
the lighting's been
No,
a
no,
problem.
read the whole thing from the top.
All right,
Read the whole thing
okay, from the top. I got to say that we're kind of disappointed with how, despite numerous emails, voicemails, meetings with members of the RE Board of Directors, no one from the DRB has come on site to Purple Sage, and I've been approving applications that will impact the 91 stakeholder homeowner members of PSCA for decades to come, really without firsthand knowledge and understanding of the application of the implications of your decisions. Yeah, I think it's important that we all know that when anyone moves into a neighborhood in Reston, they accept mandatory membership in both associations. But at the same time, they're entitled to certain rights and responsibility that membership implies. Those rights, especially that of being able to be heard and to be heard and to provide input to cluster-wide financial decisions, have continued to be denied by this and prior boards, supported by their agents, at least 3 of the myriad property management companies that have come and gone, and a law firm more concerned with lobbying enrichment instead of working to ensure the association is run responsibly and legally. Lighting became problematic in Purple Sage for decades, even going back to 40 years when it was built by Ryan Homes. Lights were installed with little to no regard for optimal placement. Lighting in Purple Sage is not to illuminate streets, rather look at it as it is a means to provide lighting along our sidewalks, our paths, and throughout the common area. Yeah, lighting in a neighborhood provides for physical safety as well as serving as a crime deterrent. And the sides and the backs of our homes have been in the dark for 40 years. And we do more in the back of our homes than in the front, yet the application for lighting ignores this. For over 4 years now, the board and its agents have hamstrung the efforts of concerned, involved, and knowledgeable homeowners to provide the board with information to perform the total replacement of the cluster-wide lighting. That knowledge, which by the way, is and has been the basis of our appeals to the DRB's approval of this application, would help to ensure the safety of PSA residents, their children, and pets. In fact, there's an open complaint, the second complaint regarding Purple Sage electrical hazards, with Fairfax County's Department of Code Compliance regarding the PSA president's Aaron Zolik's refusal to accept the fact that 2 Dominion power meter stacks located on the adjoining cluster Country Walk property that's supplied to 2 zones of Purple Sage Lights. The letter Zolik received, and that's in your packet, from Critical Peak Services is stating that there's only 1 meter stack really isn't worth the paper it's written on. No electrician from Chesapeake Critical Peak Services put a voltmeter to the exposed and still energized wiring from one of those meter stacks. That still poses a pretty significant safety threat. We question that photometric study. We're not discounting the work that the vice president put into it, but we question its accuracy. Also, just to add on, now that the cost of the project has decreased significantly, we ask that lighting the front and rear entrance signs pass along the sides of homes, behind homes, be added to the application instead of the one-to-one replacement of a poor 40-year-old design that's being applied for. There are ample funds available in our reserves for this, as well as other projects. Little to no consideration has been made for how many of the 40-year-old trees are grown around the proposed locations of the replacement lights, which only lead to problems in a short time from overgrown branches blotting out a lot of the light, rubbing against the fixtures, leading to subsequent failures. From an aesthetic perspective, the fixtures and poles in the application are simply inappropriate for rusted. Straight, direct buried black poles really aren't visually appealing, and the selected fixtures are nothing other than the cheapest developed from Dominion and are a disgrace. Having lived in Purple Sage and Reston for almost 40 years, we are not, contrary to how we're being portrayed by this board and certain neighbors, opposed to lighting our neighborhood. We are opposed to the unsafe, slipshod, penny-wise, and dollar-foolish approach taken by the board, and respectfully request PSEA to resubmit an application that meets the safety and aesthetic requirements that we deserve and that the DRB can support, and also implore the DRB to come on for an on-site visit to take a look and see for yourselves. That's what we got.
Share screen. So I want to.
Can we share screen?
No, unfortunately, there's no share screen on this.
All right. Okay.
So how do we play video for you, audio and video that shows plain and simple? It's from the two electricians that were sent out by their boss, Mr. Reed, and told us right to our faces that they did not disconnect or they didn't even know where one of the meter stacks were, and therefore they didn't know enough to check it and to disconnect it.
I mean, unfortunately, you can't say it. I think the biggest issue with that, I just want to address it. That unfortunately is not a DRB concern, because we cannot control. Dominion A has easements to do all their power work, right? And then B, it's all underground. There's nothing design approvable. Those actual
not at all. See, not at all. You're absolutely. It is underground, but it's our wiring. The meter stack is a Dominion meter.
Right, but what I'm saying is it's not a DRB issue. What I'm saying is it's not a DRB.
Well, it is because you see what happens is the Colleen Beckett, the prior president, and now the current ones, they come to you, and when you approve it, they think that you've approved the electrical aspects and the safety aspects. So what are you approving today?
I'm approving.
If you're approving lighting system that's unhealthy, that's.
We cannot control the underground wiring, and Tony, our legal, I'm sure can get on and defend me on this, but we're approving the aesthetics of the pole and the overall photometric of how the light is being thrown off of those poles and the new fixtures being selected. I cannot control how it's being powered. I do not control what permits are getting pulled with the county, what tests are happening or not. That is not our board or our purview. And so, I mean, Tony, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but am I accurate in that statement?
Mr. Chair, you are accurate, and I would respectfully remind the board that the question is not a question of electrical expertise, but rather, is there any new information that this board has not been made aware of?
Correct. And correct me, Cam, was this decision made at a panel, or was this made at a full board?
This was made at the April full board meeting.
So we can all discuss and vote on it.
Correct.
Okay. Based on the appeal statement, I do not see any new information or a misapplied guideline that we had. They've scaled back what their replacement was. They're going 1-for-1. They're putting a new fixture that I think actually aesthetically works better with the houses. It matches their approved cluster fixture that is on the front of the houses. And so I don't think we misapplied a guideline from a design aesthetic point. I'll go around the room and see if anyone else has any other thoughts. John, do you have any comments? John, I think you're muted.
Sorry. Yes, I don't have no further comments.
Okay. Sarah,
No comments.
Samantha,
Nothing to add.
Emily,
No, Michael, thank you.
Camelia,
No comments.
Mike.
Nothing for me, sir. Thank you.
Okay. With that, because there is no new information or misapplied guideline, I'm going to make a motion to deny the appeal.
Second.
Mike Beal. Oh, you beat me to it.
Seconded by Sarah. Any further discussion on that? All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right. Any against? Any abstentions? All right. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mike got bounced out. I'd ask that you,
I thought I heard him
Mike-
say something.
Mike is still here, Mr. Champ. I am still here. I was just adding an additional audio source so I could hear everybody clearer.
I thought he
So-
said yay. So 1, 2,
Yes.
3, 4, 5, 6. So now we have 7 members here. 7-0. Somebody snuck in at some point. I'm not sure who. Maybe it was Mike.
It's Mike.
So
It might be Mike B twice, Mr.
Motion
Chairman.
passes 7-0.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Application H. Old Tiverton, aka St. John's Woods. They're back with their signs. Is
Good
the sign
evening,
company here?
everyone. We are back. to
Hello,
show
hello,
you
welcome.
Our revisions. We actually have 3 things to present to you tonight. So we'll start off with signage. Sorry. The first one is the monument sign. Last time when we met, you wanted for us to incorporate something that gave more of a nod to what was existing. So we incorporated a stone base with a natural stone ledge with a precast concrete face with aluminum metal post-mounted letters.
And this is for the one that's on Reston Parkway, just for
Yes.
everybody.
Yep.
And then you guys also updated the other submission for the,
Yes, if you scroll down, Cam, to the next, we made the letters smaller, took out the logo as well.
okay.
Okay, and then I know there was one comment from one of the clusters saying that we needed to repair the concrete. And yes, we're cleaning, repairing all the concrete on the existing sign as well.
And then you guys are removing, or you're not applying for the other shared signage, and you guys are just going to remove the name off of it, I guess.
Yes, we'll work with Timberview to remove that.
Okay.
And then we did include in this package, you asked us to go and look at surrounding signs within a 2-mile radius, and we did include that. Cam, if you could scroll down, I think it's the next couple of pages. So Harborview actually has 2 signs for their property. And then if you keep going, there's Avalon, which includes a logo. And then I think there were a couple more. just to show you we did do our homework. So
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Are there still affected parties, Cam, that want to speak on it?
Yes, there are.
Yeah, let's go on to the affected parties, and then we'll come back and ask you any questions. Okay, Bronwyn?
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool.
Sure. Let's
Just a
start.
reminder, affected parties have 3 minutes if they're an individual, 5 minutes if they're representing a cluster or a group. So take it away.
Sure. First on my list is Frank with Halstead Glen. I'm going to ask you to mute. And since you are representing,
everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Okay, great. Thanks for the time. Yeah, this is an improvement. Can you scroll up to, yeah, this is the one. So aside from the request to repair the holes, I think that's the big one that I'd like to see in there. I guess another question that I'll have for the board to consider is around construction plans. I'm not sure what that meant exactly, but I remember from last time, you mentioned that when this sign originally got improved, it was involved with there was lighting and there was other construction that was went into place. So I just want to make sure that I'm not an architect, but make sure that that's all that those plans are part of this. But overall, I'm still gonna kind of object on the, I want to raise the fact that this is on Reston Parkway, right? This is a sign that really doesn't have any precedent except for itself, having been approved however many, probably over a decade ago. There's no, what would you call it, masonry sign like this, to my knowledge, notwithstanding the North Point one across the street, but that's again more like the other monument sign in this application. I think that the closest examples that are mentioned in this application are the what was the name of the apartment complex? It's Harbor Park, where there are two signs, right? And they are masonry ones, and they look pretty decent, but they're both on, one's an entrance sign, and the other one is on Center Harbor, which is, I think, more I think the analog here, right? I think there is a bit of, we got grandfathered in for this advertising on Reston Parkway, and so we should be allowed to replace it. And I would sort of ask the board to consider if that's what you're interested in doing. The other analog would be, if where I don't think there's a picture in this application, but the North Hills Park sign that is owned by Reston Association in front of that road that leads right into to the apartment complex. That's kind of where you'd expect, right, to have a joint sign. So that's our community sort of opinion on getting the design guidelines to kind of cohere and whatnot. I think that is all I wanted to say about that. So thanks for the time.
Great, thank you.
All right,
Anyone else,
next we have Laura Dunmeyer. Asking you to unmute, Laura.
Okay. Hi, this is Laura from Timberview Cluster. I just want to say how much we appreciate the improvements on the design. And I'll just echo what Frank said. I understand that, that sign could potentially grandfathered in, but maybe this is an opportunity to not do that. And my only question also is just it seems that more efforts were made to improve that sign than the main monument sign, which seems, I don't know, that's neither here nor there, but I just think maybe making them look the same would be like, this is, if you are going to do both, make this an opportunity to make them look the same. That's really, and then I guess as far as like the current shared sign that is not on this application, Timberview is still trying to decide what we're going to do with that sign. We may remove it completely. We're getting quotes on it right now, but that's still just, that's definitely going forward, not going to be a shared sign.
Is that all, Laura?
Yep, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple of names I'm just going to breeze through. Marion, Shoba, Tamara, Kelly. If you are on and you'd like to speak as an affected party, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any other ones, Michael, so we are good on that one.
Okay. Well, I'll go around the room and see if anyone has any questions or comments. I'll kind of do both at the same time for this one. John, do you have any questions or comments?
Comments. It looks like they've actually done a pretty good job from my perspective about addressing the questions we had, the criticism we had of their previous submission. So I think it's, I'm enjoying, I like it. So.
Okay. Sarah?
I see that the applicant updated with what we requested. They removed the corporate logo. They provided precedence within a 2-mile radius. I think that the material selection shown in this and the sign that we're seeing right now speaks to the other sign that's part of the application. So I do think that there is some cohesiveness in the design. And I have no questions for the applicant.
Emily?
Echo the sentiments of my colleagues. I do appreciate the effort, and I think that this is a long stride into a much better design. I have some comments just on proportions of things, where, you know, having the 6-inch cap of bluestone and then the 2-inch cap, like these are just little nitpicky things, honestly, at this point, but I do think that the proportions are slightly off. And I would advocate for maybe going with a 4-inch cap and then the 2-inch or just tweaking things slightly, but that's really my only comments.
Okay. Camelia?
No questions.
Mike B?
Nothing for me, sir. Thank you.
I would just like to commend the applicant. I think you guys took back feedback and you really came back with a great looking design that I think improves that Reston Parkway sign dramatically from what was there. I still was shocked that it was approved the way it was. And so I'm very happy the way it is. I think it turns out great. And I think, you know, simplifying, just doing the simple lettering on the original sign, I think is also the way to go. So I think it all does work together and is cohesive. I did see Elena just join on. So let me see if Elena has any questions or comments.
I do not, thank you.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Yes, this is Samantha.
Did I skip you? I'm
yes,
sorry,
you
Samantha.
did.
I'm sorry.
And I'm not shy to ask.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I first thank you for the effort on making this improvement. It really much appeal right now. I do have 2 comments. One is similar to the comments Emily made on the bluestone cap. That's proportion. I also feel a little bit off. I feel the top 2-inch may be a little bit too thin. Also, when doing the cap, you do want to provide a little bit slope on the top so the water could shade away from the actual sign and you have less stand on the stone. So perhaps just tweak a little and you will find the best proportion to it. The second comments would be on the other sign that it's very simple. It's all good. But for some reason, the text on the sign read pretty bulky, and perhaps move the text closer to the center line just a little to give a little bit more space on the surrounding will make the sign proportion better slightly. And just two very minor comments. Really appreciate the effort you put in to make the improvement.
Okay. Thank you, Samantha. I'm sorry I skipped you.
No,
I have you here on my list and I must have just went right over the name, so I apologize. So we have some comments. We had no questions. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I move we accept the redesign.
You motion to approve, John, as is?
Yep.
Okay. There's a motion.
I second.
There's a second from Sarah, I believe it was. Any further discussion? I mean, I see what Samantha's saying with a couple of things and Emily's saying with the proportions. I think, you know, the drawings are always a little off. And I don't know if I want to be too nitpicky on the sign company to kind of make them push together the letters a little bit. We could definitely do it, but then it's just, then it may come back and then we think it's too tight and then we got to go back.
Yeah.
And, you know, to me, we have kind of, I think a very, you know, a great example of how the process works, with community feedback, with multiple, you know, submissions, and we finally got to kind of a great solution. So I think we just kind of don't try to muddy the waters with proportions a little bit too much. And I think the 6-inch cap, I think I actually will look really, really nice out there, Emily. I'm on the other side of it where I think that chunkiness is going to be nice. And maybe, you know, I think if you look at the front elevation, it's kind of a better view than the diagonal, or not the diagonal, but the perspective view, because the perspective view kind of makes it seem thicker than I think it's going to be. So I think we should just leave it with no amendments, but, you know, ultimately you guys can overrule me.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm also okay. These were just nitpicks, so I don't need to pick my nits.
Okay. No picky nitties today. All right. So we have a motion, a second. We had some further discussion. All those
Michael,
in favor? Oh, who's that?
stipulation to repoint and fill the holes of the existing lettering.
Oh, yeah. So
I believe we have that on our drawings that's being done.
Perfect.
Yeah, and staff, you can make sure that's clarified, and we'll make an amendment just to clarify that the existing sign will be repointed up on the existing concrete face from where the old sign was. John, do you accept that clarification?
Yes.
And Sarah, do you accept that as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All those in favor in the motion say aye.
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 Any against? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes 8-0. All right, thank you, Bronwyn.
You're welcome.
Now, are you presenting the second?
I
application?
am. You guys
Oh,
are stuck
well.
with me for a couple more.
I thought you guys were just there. Well, let's go jump right in. So you guys are
Okay,
doing
we also
patio.
have Michael Weiss on the phone. He's my backup to help me with any technical landscape architectural engineering sort of issues. But so this is our proposed outdoor terrace area that we're proposing. If you're looking at the clubhouse, it would be to the left of it. It would incorporate, typically at all of our projects, we like to do an outdoor amenities. This clubhouse is really small, so it will be very beneficial to have an outdoor amenity to allow residents to have a extra area to congregate. Let me start out by saying we do impose times on this. So the patio or the terrace area would close at 10 o'clock. We have security. All the string lights that are proposed, they are on timers, as well as the fire feature and the grills and stuff. Those are all shut off at that time as well. We have incorporated timers into all of that. So our proposed terrace area, as you come into the space from the sidewalk, you have a fire pit area with some soft seating. And then kind of where the white triangle or a rectangle area, that's a pergola area. And you'll see some examples of what we're proposing there. Again, just a nice soft seating area. To each side of that, we've created a screen wall, which will show you an example with planters that are in front of that. We'll have a ping pong table out there, outdoor ping pong table. And then to the back of the patio area, we have a grill area that will have a green egg and 2 gas grills, and then some seating area for dining, and then a high top bar top kind of in front of the 2 mechanical units that's screened off by metal screening. The retaining wall will be revamped. Some of the timbers are starting to rot, so all of that will be cleaned up, and then it will be cladded with a Trex product, which we'll show you in the upcoming slides. And then plantings throughout, new plantings throughout. If you go to the next slide, that shows a rendering of the space, so the existing clubhouse and the existing units to the left-hand side, stamped concrete, keeping within the existing plantings with the new plantings. And the great thing about it is we didn't have to touch any of the trees to do this, which is nice. If you could keep going. I believe this is a duplicate slide. This shows you the string light layout. And then the next page showing the spec on that. Again, all on timers, so it doesn't affect the residents as well as the communities around. This shows the grading plan that Michael put together for us. And we also worked with VICA to do this grading plan as well. This is just showing you some examples of the top New England, so you can see kind of an example of it. These are generally look pictures of what the space will feel like in some of the furniture. That would be what the pergola looks like, the stamped concrete, as well as the fire feature and some of the furniture out there. The black is the pergola. Example of the pergola. And the pergola is 10 by 16. A fire pit. And then the grill and the green egg. The planters. And then this is what the screen walls will look like, an example, that which flank the pergola. And then we'll be using a screen wall like this that will go around and close the HVAC units that are right there. A smaller version, this one, so it's not as high. And then examples of what the retaining wall will look like with the Trex cladding on it. And then we also did an arborist review as well. And that's just the site plan showing where it is. And some existing conditions. Let's see, that is it on the terrace area.
Can we just ask any questions that we have now on this one?
Sure,
Kim,
yeah,
before we
that'd be
jump in?
great.
Yeah, just that way there's any questions we can, kind of knock them out right now, and then we can have, discussion as overall, because they are pretty close to each other. But does John, do you have any questions about this first outdoor terrace patio?
No,
Okay. Sarah?
No.
Samantha?
No, I do not have.
Okay. Emily?
Hi, can we circle back to the grading and drainage plan, which I believe is on page 13, staff?
Sure, and I will get Michael to talk about this because this is above my pay grade here, so.
Yeah, so I guess my initial questions are, one, I noticed there's two existing, at least that I saw on the quick photos, downspouts that are coming off of the building that right now appear like they're just going to dump onto the stamped concrete. Is there a plan to route them subsurface? If so, where are they going? Where are they popping up? If that's a possibility, or are we just dumping our roof runoff onto the stamped concrete? And the second would be, what's happening in that top little corner where we have the 22 contour? It looks like there's a catch basin, but I don't know if that's the case. And if so, same question, where did it come from? Where did it go? So let's just start there.
Okay, let me address the first one. The downspouts, in particular, there's one. It's kind of hard because I don't have the floor to point at it, but it's by the air conditioning AC pads. They are tied in, and they will daylight in the front of the. They will daylight in the landscape ahead of the sidewalk, so that we try to minimize as much, and that's more for the ice. We don't like to daylight. We want it to percolate and dissipate well ahead of the edge of the sidewalk. So they will daylight. The high point you see in the terrace, 21.34, is basically the high point that's out there today. It pitches to the front, and it also pitches to the existing inlet that's back in that corner. So the existing inlet remains the water. That 22 is catching the water from that building, continues up. I don't know if you could go down. Could you roll to the site plan? The overall site plan would probably be a better depiction, but that's just 22 is just the existing grade. Yeah. Well, let's see. Okay. You see where the pool is? Do you see where the pool is? So that retaining wall continues up, and you can see that existing. Yeah, come to the left, and you'll see that existing drain. There you go, right there. So that area, we're not touching anything past that. The 22, we're not touching. That existing water comes just as it does today. The small bit that comes off of the, there's a concrete landing there. That still goes to that drain, but the rest of it comes to the front like it does today.
Okay. So that makes sense. And, looking at this plan, I guess, talking about where the pop-up lines are planning on going, are we talking about like the B in building footprint, more or less?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then if the last question that I had would be to go back to the layout plan, and it's really just because I want this, this project to succeed, because nothing is worse than putting a bunch of ice on stamped concrete. Is the corner where those that planter is, that little, we're at 90s and comes back to the front. I didn't see a spot elevation in that corner. I'm assuming that you were sheet flowing this into bidirectionally so that it's going to go into the corner and then down towards the front.
Yeah, there should be a spot. I think there was a spot in that corner right there.
Can we go back to the page 13, staff? Yeah, I saw the
Elevation
there's a
21.
bottom of wall. There's a bottom of wall. Excellent. Okay. Well, that answers my nitpicky questions, I think. All right, Michael, back to you.
All right, cool. Sound like a weatherman.
Yeah, right.
Amelia, did you have any questions?
I'm okay for now. Thank you.
Mike B.
Can I jump in on the heels of what Emily was just talking about? So the retaining wall, the newly, I guess, reskinned, I mean, are we materially changing those? Are those timbers going away for new substructure, or are we just kind of reskinning the thing?
We're doing both. So some of the
Okay.
some of the timbers are rotten, and we
Gotcha.
are gonna have to dig down a little bit. So once we regrade, we'll see what we have. We'll replace those timbers and then clad it with the tracks.
Okay. And that was, it's funny, Emily and I think we're on a similar path here, because obviously we've got some new finished space as opposed to green space on the, on the low side of the wall, right? And I see in your renderings here, actually, we got the perfect slide up. So there's some manner of flush mounted floor drain type thing at the toe. Is that the intention, to try and pick up any water coming out the face or over the top?
Well, if you look at the top of the wall where we have the planting,
Sure.
Our goal, just so you know, is to always, and I hope, Emily, you'll second this, you never want to pitch water back to a wall. The
Oh,
only
I agree
reason
wholeheartedly.
we will not pitch, promise you, not pitch back towards these retaining walls, nor do we want the water. We want the water above the wall to go down. And if these walls, I will give them that when they built these, they're gravel back. So
Sure.
you don't have that. You will not need that drain that they have today, I'm sure, is because they're in a bowl and they needed to add that slot. I call them slot drains. That's the only reason you see that. So to answer your question, no, you want to minimize any slot drain anytime. So we'll catch the water up above the wall, redirect it away from our space, and any water that lands in our space rolls away from the wall and graded just as it's shown on the grading plan, with the high point, a logical high point that'll pitch the water. Emily's right. The worst thing we can do, we're trying to create people magnets, not people problems. I want people to go chill, not sit in water. So
Not sit ankle deep. No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So that's, again,
Exactly.
as somebody who plays a little bit in this space, I just wanted to make sure we weren't making a puddle down there in the corner. So I appreciate it. Thank you for the additional info.
No
I'm good for now, Michael.
Okay. Elena?
Nothing additional from me, thank you.
So I just have a couple questions on materials. And while we're talking about walls and spot elevation. So from what I'm reading is, right now the wall is obviously over 30 inches. Do you guys anticipate the need for a handrail or a guardrail? Because now you're not retaining earth, you're kind of retaining from an actual, I don't know, patio. I'm assuming the county might kick that in. Do you guys anticipate that?
But go ahead, Bronwyn.
We have discussed it. We don't anticipate that we need it, but if the county comes in and says it, of course we'll put it in, but.
Well, yeah, because it's kind of unique because you kind of have that pergola, which is gonna, what is that, like 10 feet? Is that?
It's 16 by 10, so
Well,
we have
but
that, and then
height wise is like 10 feet tall, I think, maybe.
it's nine.
So that's
Yeah.
gonna sit like, if that wall really is, if that bottom of wall is 21.7, it's like 4 foot 8 inches. So it'll sit like, basically it'll be half, 4 foot 8 high, and I think with the grasses, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I prefer it to all be grasses and the cherry laurels that you guys have. I just, it's just something that it caught my eye when I was asking the question.
Michael, if I may.
Yeah.
The cherry laurel hedge, the way that they have it shown on the plan, will count as a vegetated buffer that will pass code. They don't need a railing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then so the wall basically returns back, and then we're coming back towards the front sidewalk. There's some existing electrical meter equipment stuff. Because you guys are doing all this landscaping and stuff, is there it's obviously an eyesore now. Is there any thought of screening that with some of these plants that you guys are putting in, or did you guys just kind of want to just leave it as is and
We
how close
looked
is it
at
actually
that.
to this stuff?
Yeah, I think we will add some plantings around that. I was actually looking at that today when I was on site.
It just caught my eye in the
Just to
pictures, and I was
soften
like,
it,
ooh,
yeah.
that thing is kind of questionable. So I just thought maybe it'd be nice, you guys are doing all this work, might as well, make it, kind of integrated a little better, maybe. The For the stamped concrete, is there an actual sample somewhere of a picture of an installed stamped
Oh,
concrete?
installed?
No, just somewhere. For some reason, I couldn't. I don't know, staff. Maybe I'm just going through this thing too quickly. I just didn't see anything of actually showing the physical
Yep, if
stamped
you
concrete.
scroll down, we have a picture of what it is.
Page 14.
Where?
Next.
Down 15.
The 15, I'm
Next,
sorry.
next slide. There, lower, under amenity or above amenity terrace.
So is it more gray or is it more?
It's tones of gray, yes.
Okay, because the one drawing makes it look more tan.
Yeah. And
Okay,
if
but
you look,
you're leaning more towards gray.
right, if you look at the rendering, it shows it as gray.
The first on the very beginning, the three-dimensional
Gotcha. Okay.
illustration.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. And then for the material that's going on the grill surround, that is that going to be exactly what we're looking at in this picture here
It's
as
a
an
stone,
example?
a little bit more on the grayer side, but like a dry stacked stone, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I like the gray honed granite. I think that's nice.
Yes.
The fact that you're letting people use a green egg is pretty sweet. So
we'll see how it goes.
you're gonna have one guy out there on Saturday mornings from 6 a.m. till 8 p.m. cooking something.
It's the new rage in multifamily amenities, actually. So
okay, well that makes a little more sense. I was trying to figure out if the black pergola made sense but I think with all the tones of gray that you guys are going with the existing building, I think it's all gonna tie in together cohesively, and you guys are introducing enough greenery to help that
soften it, yes.
help kind of balance it out and not make it so stark. So that was all I was kind of worried about, is it getting a little too dark for your guys' overall color scheme. But I think overall, it's gonna be an improvement. So I don't have any other questions. Do you want to walk us over to the patio, the yoga patio?
Cam, if you can scroll down, yeah. So the yoga terrace is currently right now a concrete slab. It's right off the existing clubroom, or what was the existing clubroom. It's now coming off of our exercise room. We will be doing a faux wood flooring out there, as well as introducing some boulders and landscaping and a fountain out there. We're doing 2 screen walls to each side of the space to make it a place where our residents can come out and meditate, as well as doing yoga out there. And these are some look pictures of what it will look like. That's the screen walls. The fountain, and the tile, the faux wood tile. And the sails will be done in a very light gray. And then we're proposing to replace the sconces on the building and then hanging a pendant just to anchor the front of the clubhouse as well. And those will all be done with LED.
Okay. All right, let me go around, see if anyone has any questions on those. John, do you have any questions about the yoga patio or the lighting?
No,
Okay. Sarah?
No.
Samantha?
Can you remind us again where this yoga trailer's located?
Sure, it's right. If you go to the existing pictures, you might be able to see, but it's right now on the, if you look on the site plan, you see where it says 1-story clubhouse 11555, and then you see concrete right to north plan. Right there. Yep.
I see. Okay. I'm all good and no further question.
Okay. Emily?
None for me.
Camelia?
None over here. Thank you.
Mike B?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Elena?
Nothing, thank you.
So my only question, or I guess I always have lots of questions, but I'll keep it brief. What exactly is the point of the sails if it's under a roof? I'm just curious.
Just to soften the space a little bit. The ceilings are very high there, just to bring it down just a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, that's the only thing, like, I don't know. I see those and they look great when they first go up, and then over time they just sag, they start getting weathered, they're gonna catch pollen, they're gonna catch leaves blowing in there, they're gonna get gross. I luckily they're covered, so maybe they won't age as poorly as they have, in other projects. But I just was curious what the rationale was behind those. And then the lighting temperature, I just want to make sure all the lights will be, 3000 Kelvin or less is kind of what we're going for. I think I saw one called out 2700. But what's always tricky is when these things don't come with the light bulbs in them, then maintenance puts light bulbs in them, and then all of a sudden they're putting in 4,000 or 5,000 Kelvin. And
Oh,
so
no.
we're keeping it nice and
Yep.
nice and low. Really, the color temperature is they could be bright lights. They just need to be color temperature appropriate. So
We usually stick between 27 and 3000. That's
Perfect.
kind of our standard on all
And
of our lights.
while I was looking at this, I thought of another question for the back one, and because of these metal screens. So these metal screens are slightly different than what was on the previous patio. These ones are bolted into the concrete, correct?
Yes, and the other ones are they're well, you create a frame and then you clad it with the Trex.
So
And
so
then they're
those are
in-
not freestanding like what this image shows with the
Nope.
Okay,
That's
okay,
just
that's what I wanted to clarify. Okay, yeah, because I think it'll look much better like this, the rendering that's above it.
Yes,
Up
that's
one,
how
yeah,
it-
right there.
That's how it will look.
That'll how this look. Okay,
Yep.
okay. All right, just checking.
That's just the spec sheet, how it pulls it up.
Okay, perfect. Does anybody have any comments, questions, motions?
Staff did have one question about the bamboo proposed around the yoga terrace.
Bamboo. Where's that? Yeah, ask away.
Just clarification on what type of bamboo you're proposing to install under the holly tree.
Do you see I guess I didn't call it out. Here's the biggest thing you want to know. And I would recommend, you need to look at, it's called bamboo shield. That's the biggest thing you want to make sure that we're protecting. It's a root barrier. And that's what's going to protect the concrete and any of the bamboo from spreading. We were going after a very Zen-like vibe in that's why you see the boulders and the light gravel, the river jack, and then the bamboo just to create a thick dense buffer between the pool area. And it won't be under the holly. It will be in between. It'll split the uprights, if you will, behind the water feature, which doesn't have a whole lot now. Well, it's Blue Princess holly or China Girl holly, the low holly. So the perimeter of the bamboo gets we excavate and we put in what they call it's called bamboo shield. You can Google it. It's a root barrier, oftentimes done in cities to protect the street trees from the concrete as well, but it's specific to bamboo.
Okay. Staff, does that answer your?
It answers my question.
Okay. Elena?
Yeah, can I just ask a question about this cladding with a Trex product? What's the cross section of the product look like? We're not going to be seeing, is it solid or
It's solid, and then on the corners are mitered, so you don't see the kind of
Are you
compressed.
guys doing the hidden fastener system, or are you going to use like the color match
Hidden
screws?
fasteners, and then on the corners, it's all mitered, so you don't see any of it.
Yeah, I just was worried about those cut ends.
Yeah.
It's got a consistent profile, right? It doesn't have a
Yes. Yep.
a rectangular profile. Okay,
But
thank you.
it's a square edge, which is a much cleaner, crisper look than you're probably used to seeing out there. So that's another key to the look. It's a very clean look as opposed to the round. It's not rounded, but the square, crisp edges when you clad is a nice, clean look.
Okay, thank you.
Emily?
Yeah, I just wanted to circle back to the bamboo. I would make a recommendation, one that as we move forward with this, we do mandate that they're going to do the bamboo barrier if they're installing it, but there are also clumping varieties of bamboo that I would recommend. Fargesia robusta is one that is a non-massive spreader. So that would be a good species to recommend, that we just incentivize them to use a clumping bamboo if they're going to move forward with bamboo as a species. That's it.
I knew you could throw some plant knowledge out there. My one final question is for this Trex, and I'm looking at it. Do we have what color is selected? And once again, I'm just maybe not seeing
Yes,
it.
if you go back to the slide, I can, not on this one or on the other one, Michael?
On the other one, sorry, on the
Yeah.
first, on the
If
main
you
Trex,
go
it's
back
gonna
to
go all
the
over the retaining wall.
slide, it is.
Spiced rum.
You can use,
And it's spiced rum.
yes, it is spiced rum.
So you're doing the gray ground, the black pergola, the spiced rum.
Which
Okay.
has some like black accents in it, and we also didn't want it to be such a far cry from some of the other retaining walls on the property as
Yeah.
well, so we did it a little darker.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, I think it can work there. All right. Any other questions, comments, motions, thoughts? I'll make a motion to approve the application with the following stipulation that the bamboo root shield be installed with recommendation for the species of the bamboo to be a more clumping variety. Is that the right term, Emily? And that the lighting and all that is on timers for the string lights per the applicant's statement tonight. So there's a motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any against? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes 8-0. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Good luck
Take
with your
care.
project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so circling back to application F, I think I saw the applicant join.
Yes, they are here. I'm asking them to unmute now. Zara.
Hello.
Hi, Zara. So welcome. You are appealing a decision that we had. So an appeal
Yes.
requires you to prove that there's been a misapplied guideline or that there's new information. So one of those two things needs to be proven for us then to accept the appeal. And then if we accept the appeal, then we'll rehear the case kind of de novo, which means we'll hear it all over again from the top, basically. So take it away.
Oh, so the way I approach this is like, I think that the design was telling me that I get rid of the spiral and take it to the original condition. So I got rid of the spiral. So it's not now flat now, and it's just a flat flower bed in the middle of the lot, and I send a picture of it. And I already have some like flowers that I put through the season. So I wanted to either just be able to keep this flower bed in the middle of my front yard, or if I am removing it, let it happen by the end of the summer, which like I already put some flowers down. So like postpone it. I know they gave me 60 days. You guys give me 60 days, like put it like end of the summer, like end of September. Then I like put it into like take it out and add like seeds for grass if I'm taking it to original condition. Otherwise, I would love to have the flower bed. And I already removed the spiral. So I don't know if that is, if I'm supposed to do something different to bring that request or.
No, I think so because it's an appeal,
Yeah.
because we made a decision. I think the decision was that there was we declined or we denied the rounded landscape timbers because those are specifically not allowed in Reston. We require them to be full square profile, and so that's why we denied it.
Okay.
I think the updated information that you have is that you've removed some of those, correct?
Yes.
And
So
it's down to basically, staff, could you go to the affected parties picture on slide 5?
I thought the issue was with the spiral. So the issue is with the timbers. If I change them to squares, then it is fine to have a spiral.
So I don't honestly know what you're talking about with a spiral. I'm not familiar with that style of landscaping. I don't know if Emily can speak on that, but basically why we did, I know I was on the original panel. We disapproved it originally because of the multiple stacked rounded timbers. And so what you're telling me though is the new information is you have removed staff, do you have the appellants or the affected parties pictures? I'm looking on it's my slide 5. I don't know.
I basically removed, like it was stacks, right? So
right there, yeah, right there.
2 steps. So now it's just flat, which I can like remove those timbers too. But this basically there is like the flat flower bed in the middle.
Correct. Yeah. So to me, this is the new information that the rounded timbers have been removed and that we're down to basically just the flower bed edging essentially is down to these rounded timbers. I'm trying to get through the appeal process, Zara, and then we can't talk about the actual, application yet unless the appeal is granted. So there have been some modifications, guys. I cannot vote on this. John can also not vote on this, just for the record, because we were on the original panel that made the decision. But to me, knowing that this is what the new kind of proposal is basically a planter bed, as you guys see in the front yard with the timbers. This is currently what is kind of being proposed. So to me, this is new information because this is different than what, we denied. So let me go around the room, Zara, and see if anyone has any questions for you, and then we'll have some discussion, okay?
Sure.
So John, I'll touch on you just because you were on the panel as well. Do you agree with me that this is new information from it's a different, she's submitting something different at this point?
Yes, I agree, Michael.
Okay. Sarah, do you have any questions for
No questions.
Samantha?
I don't have a question. Yeah, maybe I do. So why need a timber there?
So I left it there because I already had it there, but I can remove that and just put like a border. I just want like in the middle be able to like put flowers in the middle of the yard. That's all.
I see. Okay. That's my only question.
Okay. Emily?
No questions for me.
Okay. Camelia?
Same here.
Mike B?
No question, sir.
Elena?
Sorry, unmute. No questions. Thank you.
Right. John and I cannot vote or make a motion or do anything, so it's up to somebody else. Just as a caveat, I don't think that this is approvable the way that it is. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the application is changing, and so
from a procedural standpoint, yeah.
Right. So it's more of, I think there still needs to be some, better laid out landscaping, but I think from an appeal standpoint, there is new information. And so that's the reason why I'm kind of standing on it.
Well, then I'll make a motion to accept the appeal, Michael, on the basis of new information.
All right. So there's a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Right. Any against? And then 2 abstentions for John and I. So the appeal is granted 6-2. So now, Zara, we'll talk about your application. There is an affected party with the cluster. So we're going to hear from them, and then we'll come back and talk to you about kind of what we kind of think you can do to, amend the application a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
Staff, is the cluster here? I think
Yes, Mr. Gray is on.
you wait around.
Mr. Gray, you've been unmuted.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you for honoring our request to be placed at the beginning of the meeting, as we originally requested in our appeal. Our concern really is that the cluster maintains our front yards and our side yards and our common area. And the way that the current front yard is configured, we're not able to maintain the front yard, and it has not been maintained on a regular basis. So that the front yard really has become untidy on several occasions. Originally, most of the plantings have died, and while the landscaping logs have been reconfigured to support, it really has been reconfigured to support a vegetable garden. In this picture that we have, you should be able to see that the homeowner has planted a tomato, a pepper plant, and eggplant, as well as herbs. It's not clear really where the garden beds begin and end, especially when it comes to the lawn. If you notice the back up against the house, there's really no definition of a bed up against the house. So those beds have really become overgrown and unsightly. It's really our understanding that the front yard should not contain a vegetable garden. Those plants should be planted within our backyards, and we actually do have nicely fenced in backyards for items such as that. And really the front yard really should either be grass or some garden that's well maintained. And while this case has been going on for the last probably year and a half, we haven't really seen it as well maintained. We asked that the DRB says that the plan really is to complete the garden within 2 years. So we'd like to know really what the plan is and what else the homeowner really is planning to do. Our request really is fix up the front yard, most likely remove the garden in the middle of the yard, and restore the tree that all of our properties or all of our homeowners do have in our front yards. Since this case really started in the spring of 2023, it's been a long time, and we'd really like to have this matter come to a close sometime soon. So thank you for hearing our point of view. So thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth, for being patient as well and waiting around. So the thing about this application is, we're not against, trying to update and have new plant material kind of in place of grass. Personally, we like plant material over grass, because grass is really just grass, just a ground cover. It's not really a not a really a native species, so to say, or a plant material like that. So with what to me though, what was the problem with this application was that the plant materials that should be selected per our guidelines need to be appropriate in character, habitat, not be invasive, which none of these are. And then the size and the arrangement needs to be cohesive for the design, the overall kind of design. And so that was kind of, I think what I wanted to make sure was that we were not, saying, Zara, hey, you cannot do plants or flowers in your front yard, but it cannot be a vegetable garden. I think when you planted it and it was back, I think there was a picture, the original where you got, I think, a bunch of marigolds and some other things. I'm not a plant person, so Emily might be laughing at me, calling what these are. But overall, that looked relatively put together, and those plants were nice and healthy and were put together, arranged somewhat nicely. Those since have all died and have not left a nicely arranged area. So what I'm thinking, Zara, is if you do want to maintain some sort of flowers and perennials or annuals, even if you want to, replace them each year, I think you need to create a better landscaping plan that shows where you want these, and sticking them in the middle of grass is probably not the ideal situation. But if you wanted to do sidewalk border, or you wanted to do, a sidewalk border that kind of had a swooping edge that goes off into the grass, so you can get them a little bit better into the middle. I just think we need a little bit better plan, and what type of plants and what species. So then we can kind of look at it and say, okay, these fit the type of environment they're going in, and it's going to look cohesive with the overall design of the house. But I think the big thing is right now, this does not look like that, and it has an appropriate landscape edging. So we have in our guidelines some appropriate landscape edging that you could use over these rounded timbers, as an example. So just, I think that's where it needs to go. So what I would love to do is have you, do more of a deferral where you can give us a little bit better plan with a drawing that, is a little bit more cohesive. And I wish, I could give you a recommendation on who could help you kind of do that, but it just needs to be a little bit more in keeping with the front yard dynamic of your property versus what you submitted, which is, you're kind of putting an island in the middle of this grass, which causes issues from an aesthetic standpoint and a maintenance standpoint long term. So I think there definitely is a way to dress up this yard. I mean, Emily, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but there is definitely a way that she could dress up this yard, have nice perennials and some annuals that she throws in there each year, and kind of landscape it properly, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also plenty of flowering perennials that are herbs and that are edible that we can use in gardening, rosemary being one of them, lavender being one of them. These are, beautiful plantings that just happen to be edible, if you're trying to kind of go with that eco-friendly option. I personally don't see any issue with having, as you mentioned, more planting space, rather than front yard space. And mowing around a square is not that complicated. So I don't particularly feel a lot of sympathy for the maintenance company in that respect. But yeah, I think even just, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but I mean, if the timbers weren't there and this was just a garden bed, this wouldn't even be something that we would be looking at.
Well, I think it's because it has plants, like it has gardening vegetables in it that technically then it's a garden in a front yard, which we do not allow. So that's from the original application. There was that's why I was saying we really need an updated plan. So if you go to the original application where we started here, staff, on slide 27 or my 27, I don't know if it's your
It was a
27.
spiral garden. Yeah.
There was blueberries, there was cherries, there's pomegranates, there's, a bunch of different vegetables, so to speak. And so that's what got it, right? Really, it's a fruit. Really, it was more of a fruit garden than a vegetable garden. But that's what pulled it to be reviewable from that standpoint. Plus, the timbers were 3 stories, not 3 stories, 3 stacks high above ground. So I think, she can update this plan to kind of show a little bit better arrangement of what she has. And maybe it swoops out and goes all the way into where she has disturbed the earth already a little bit. And I think you could create a really nice kind of curved edge and really plant it nicely and mulch down, etc. And make it look really nice and inviting for your home. I just think we need a better plan. So that's just my 2 cents. Does anyone have any other comments, thoughts?
I had a question. Did it look like between the first application and now that there's been like a small rock area added?
Yeah, it looks like there's a little bit of river jack kind of added along the
Was that something that was ever part of the planting plan or the landscape plan?
No, it looks like it probably was added for water, erosion or something. But like I said, I think she could incorporate that into her overall planting plan if she submitted a more updated thing. So what I'm thinking is what I would do if I was to make a motion would be to say, hey, we defer this application to allow an application of a robust planting plan, if that is your goal, or to put it back to the way it was, if you prefer not to do the plantings, not do a planting plan, and that it would be, required within 45 days for the plan, and then we could look at it over the cohesiveness and make sure it meets our guidelines from kind of altering this ground. Would you guys be open to that? Does anyone have any other comments?
I saw there was a comment in the chat.
Yeah. So it's a great comment. Basically they said, working with a local landscape supplier like Meadows Farms or Merrifield or somebody like that would be probably willing to help do a little sketch as well with some plants that they would be obviously happy to sell you, but that would at least give you some. They'll be very good at what native flowers would do well. It looks like it's a very front sunny area, and so I think that's a great solution. We cannot mandate it, but I do think for the applicant, it's a good solution on how to get, kind of a low cost plan, because sometimes for something this small, they may even do it, for free. So I'm going to make a motion to defer the application to allow the applicant to submit an updated landscape plan within 45 days to show a cohesive planting design plan for the front yard that does not include vegetables that would be garden qualified plants, but rather natural. If she does want edible plants, something along the lines of lavender or thyme. Did you say rosemary? Is thyme one of them or no?
Yeah, we
and
can do
since-
time, and even there's the blueberries are an evergreen, so, and they're native, so that's not something that I would necessarily frown upon either.
Okay, great. And so, consulting with a local landscape, either architect or designer or company would be preferred. So there's a motion, there's a timeline on it. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Second by Emily.
Michael,
Yes, Cam.
for this, do you want this to come back to the full DRB or?
I don't think it needs to be, personally. I think we should just go to a panel.
Okay.
So there would be a deferral, go back to a panel. Any further discussion? All right, so the timeline is 45 days, and motion to defer. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any against? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes 8-0. All right, thank you, Zara. All right, I believe that's everything that I see. Hopefully
Make a-
LaShonda's living off on vacation, so I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All right, thank you, staff. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Trevor. Who else is on here? Thank you, Tony, as always.
Very welcome. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening, guys. Thank you.
Have a good
See ya.
See ya.
evening.
Pleasant evening.
Shorter than a panel meeting. See ya.
It was shorter than the panel meeting.